Hey, it's me. Ubi told me, the guys with the 5 eyes that you see. And the NBA is in a very peculiar situation. And it all really kind of comes full circle to the Charlotte Hornets. Which is kind of crazy because the thing is, when Miles Bridges getting arrested, we have seen within the last few years a slew of young drafted NBA players get arrested and suspended and waived for a variety of reasons. And with the Charlotte Hornets, Ty Jones and Miles Bridges kind of exposing this and just showing that the NBA might be having a bit of a problem with the mentality of its players. Now, we're going to really be discussing in this video, firstly, Miles Bridges' situation, and then we're going to expand on the situations of other players to kind of get to my point about how the NBA they do need to check out what the fuck is going wrong with their players. The NBA, men are going to be men, and there's always been drama in NBA, like, Lord have mercy, the 80s, 70s, wild time. There used to be a point where every player in the NBA was sniffing on that white girl to see what she smelled like.
Happening, Jack, my main man, baddest I ever met, cocaine.
But here we go. So, a criminal summons was issued Wednesday for Charlotte Hornets forward Miles Bridges for violating a domestic violence protective order, misdemeanor child abuse, and injury to personal property. So basically, he had gotten arrested, I think last year, right, for just beating up on his girl and I guess beating his kids, essentially. And he got his charge and everything. Got a 30-game suspension, 20 games last year, 10 games this season. And it's sad, but it messed up whatever bag he was gonna get, because I'm gonna tell you now, I saw Miles Bridges in person. He scored 30. Didn't even see him score. That's how fast this dude is. Like, it's scary how some men can be so big and so fast. And Miles Bridges, in my opinion, had all the potential needed to be an NBA All-Star, and he was on the cusp. He's probably going to get himself no less than $80 million. That's how good of a kind of player he is. But he actually ended up settling for 1 year, 7.5, something like a veteran's not minimum, but one of those kind of deals for the Charlotte to be like, okay, we really need to see if you can stay out of trouble and give us a good season, and then we're gonna give you the bag. That ain't happening.
Is there anything you can't do, nigga?
I don't know. Go, bro.
The alleged incident that led to the summons being issued occurred around 9 p.m. on October 6th. Now, and again, the NBA and the news and ESPN, these are all Masonic entities. You got to pay attention when numbers are thrown around, because sometimes, if you notice, you'll notice a lot of 6s and 9s, 13s, 12s, and 3s. And we see a lot of that here. And 9 p.m. on October 6th at Bridges' private residence in Charlotte. According to the police report obtained by ESPN, the criminal summons itself describes a series of events, between Bridges and his girlfriend. And another thing too, makes me think, Drake released his album on October 6th, and that was the subject of my last video, and it says 8 a.m. in Charlotte. It kind of makes me wonder if Drake is trying to point that energy out there, because as you know, Amari Bailey was drafted to the Charlotte Hornets, and Drake was, basically drafting his mom to be in his harem. And now with Ty Jones and Bridges kind of being out of the team, essentially, might open up more space for Amari to work, even though he's not a power forward center like those guys are. I mean, hey, open roster spot to open roster spot, ain't it? Makes you think. Okay, so Bridges is accused of throwing billiard balls at her vehicle while the children were inside it, smashing the windshield and leaving dents in their car, according to the summons. He's also accused in the summons of threatening her that if she told the police, he would take everything from her and withhold child support, and that he allowed his current girlfriend to yell, scream, and kick the victim's car while the children were inside it. Now, this is the thing, man. The key thing to me in this is the fact that he managed to get another girl. See, when you accept the end of your relationships, whether it was your fault to end it or not, that's one of the most powerful keys for any man to be able to have in their life, is the ability to move on. See, he is in that situation because he can't move on. There is no reason for him to be feeling any anger towards this woman. I mean, listen, he has a second chance from the NBA after a domestic dispute. Second chance. And he's also got another girl. He could probably have kids with her. I'm saying, I understand that he probably does misses his kids and it's a hard situation. At the same time, he caused it and it's all his fault and he can't move on. That's also why he has his girlfriend trying to attack his new girl. That's a methodology a lot of men use to pit women against each other. He basically using her like a pit bull. But it also shows what kind of the choice and the kind of women he has. He needs to have that kind of disruptiveness and that crazy, because if I'm that girl, right, think about this, right, this girl is with him, she doesn't care about the fact that if he gets in trouble again, his NBA career could be over. She's not that smart, you know. If that was like, if I'm that woman,
what,
not if I'm that woman, but someone, if I knew a woman in that woman's shoes, you would do anything you can to stop this nigga from going off. And physically you probably couldn't, but still, you gotta save that bag. And I gotta tell you now, he deserves what he's gonna get from this, because if we being frank, a dude like Miles Bridges throwing billiard balls, first of all, where were these billiard balls? Like, did he just in his back? Like, he had to have either brung them or they were at some kind of party thing or whatever, but like, it's so random, right? Dude like him throwing them things at her at the car with his kids inside, he could have killed them. Like, people have died playing like pool sometimes when them billboards just go off the thing and hit you. I've had it, bro. Let it hit your finger, it might break, bro. Those things are hard. Of course he smashed the windshield, of course he dented it. You know how hard he was probably throwing it. Probably he might as well just got a gun and shot at them, honestly, right? Crazy. And I feel bad for that woman too, because I feel bad for the kids most of all, because Miles at 26, 7, 8, whatever how old he is, he's still a little kid. And that's the thing I say about a lot of these NBA players and athletes, is a lot of them are grown children, because again, they don't really have a job. They're a product that plays for a living. They just play a game and they're a product. So they don't have to really be mature off the court in real life, you know. I mean, they need to for stability, but people care more about what they do on the court versus off. That's just the truth of it, because what they do on the court is what really makes the money. There is also an unserved arrest warrant for Bridges, which was first issued on January 2nd for violating a domestic violence protective order. According to the summons, a hearing on the matter is scheduled for 9 a.m. on November 13th, excuse me. So again, there's that 9 a.m. from 9 p.m. and there's also the 13th, and this is the harvest season. So it tells you about, like, in November how he played a no contest to the felony domestic charge, and he had 3 years of probation, no jail time, and he got off because he got money and they want him to be a star as much as they can. And as part of the deal, he was ordered to obey the terms of a 10-year protective order, which includes staying 100 yards away from and having no contact with the woman in the case. Also required to complete 52 weeks of domestic violence counseling and 52 weeks of parenting classes, serve 100 hours of community service, and undergo weekly narcotics testing, while not being allowed to own any guns, ammunition, or weapons. And then they talk about his suspension, like I said, and then his 1-year qualifying offer. And recently he had turned himself in. He's got a bit of a mugshot out there that's gone viral, and I guess he's turning himself in for, I don't know what's going to happen if I'm gonna keep it frank, but one thing I do know is I don't know.
Yeah, make up your mind, dude.
I think he's going to get cut. I don't think his NBA career is completely over, because again, like, so sometimes they try to get these guys as many chances as they can when they know they're a moneymaker. But here's the thing, guys, you just got to understand that in this life, as a man, you have to keep your cool. No man has the luxury of not keeping their cool. And this is a universal thing. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, we have to, because in this world run by men, really mostly for the sake of families and everything, we have to understand that we are overbearingly powerful creatures at our peaks, especially. And with Miles Bridges, he has no control over himself. He's not developed control over himself. I don't know how he grew up with. He definitely has trauma that he's grown up with. But when you are like 6'9", 250 something pounds, you can run a 40-yard dash in like 4.5 seconds. I don't know if that's his time officially, but when you're a guy like Miles Bridges, you have to keep your cool even more. See, the more physically imposing you are, the more cool you have to be. You gotta consider it. Think of it like, I know in Japan they say a lot of men who don't talk to women are called herbivores or whatever, but think about being more like an herbivore. And I know a lot of herbivores are actually uber aggressive when they have to be, but for the sake of this conversation, think of the fact that when you are like a gorilla size, an elephant size, a whale size, that predator instinct that you may have to get buck and get wild, you have to reel that in even more so, because it takes even less effort for you to cause more damage, and that's the key thing. So again, imagine, like, for me, if I threw billiard balls at her car, I could probably break the window and everything, but it's nothing like what he can do. I can throw it at you and it's gonna hurt, may kill you, hit you in the right place. He throws it at you, at the very least you're probably like, you're gonna die. Like, that's just what it is, right? And now I want to get to this other thing too with Kai Jones.
Go time, or I'm in a go day.
It says here that they waived their first round pick Kai Jones after he requested a trade. Hornets declined to comment, and they announced last week that he would not join the team. Right, and he only averaged 2.7 points, 2 rebounds in 67 games, because he was one of those kind of players that is a project, but he's like 6'11", probably like 6'9", but he got a lot of bounce, got a high motor, high energy. If he turns out right, he doesn't even need to average like 15, 20. He only needs to average like a 10 and a 10, and then you got a solid pick right there. But recently, he was posting, I don't know what was going on with this dude.
Boy, I myself, not a drug, man. I'm about to get traded. Man, I don't think so. I just met with Mr. Day. I don't think I'm getting traded.
Some people say it's drugs. Personally, I think some guys are just kind of off again, because when you play a children's game for a living, a lot of times you are not in the real world, and as you grow up playing that child's game, you kind of just stay stuck as a child. And it's funny because now, like, Kevin Durant he posted himself listening to Kai Jones music, probably trying to show a little bit of solidarity, and probably hoping that the Suns may pick him up, because that'd be a freaky team with Kai Jones and Durant and Bol Bol. That has a lot of length all the way up and down the depth chart, from starter to bench to deep bench. That's a lot, right? But that nigga corny anyway. Either way, yeah, in Kai Jones' case, I don't know what he's going through, and I don't know what he is thinking, but to me, this is just one of the reasons why I feel like a lot of athletes, they need to have real life training or counseling or something like that, or therapy, like just off the rip, because a lot of the issues they may have emotionally or mentally quite often tend to get ignored because of their potential and because of their talent. Because if we're keeping it real, nobody really cares about these guys in general. We care about them as a product. There are a lot of people that act like they care about them, but if they aren't winning their team championships, if they aren't winning their team games, if they aren't making highlights, if they're having sluggish streaks, or they have a down season, a lot of people write these guys off, and a lot of times they don't want them on the team. They have all these harsh criticisms. We have so much critique over these guys' games, when I'd estimate probably less than about 1% of the total basketball interest population on the earth even really plays it seriously to the point where, like, they got real skills. You know what I'm saying? To me, it just seems like the most unskilled basketball people have the biggest opinions. And some people would go back and be like, Stephen A. Smith averaged like 1 point a game in high school, and whoever that white guy that can never keep a host on his show, Skip Bayless, I don't think he played high school or anything at all. They seem to have the craziest takes and the biggest opinions on these dudes. But I'm here to tell you that if you're an athlete and you're trying to go pro, this Kai Jones, Miles Bridges, these guys show you that you need to have a close circle. You need to have people that have unwavering love for you, and this could be friends, this could be families. Sometimes some people don't have friends, sometimes people don't have families, but you need support, because this world is not going to support you, because again, you're a product. You're not really a human being. And I mean, Kai could be feeling that, I don't know, but when you are in a position like him, you do have to act up. You can't be just acting all out of control because you're a product of the team. The team owns you. That's what you signed a contract for. They give you money and you're playing for them. And again, you're not really laboring because you're playing, so effectively they do own you at that moment, and that's why they can tell you whatever the hell they want you to do for the most part. Now I want to get to the next part of this. Oh, I don't know, Matthew Brady. Yeah, I don't know. Don't ask why I'm researching that guy. He didn't do nothing much wrong. He was just a photographer that got done dirty at the end of his life, like a lot of dudes back then.
Look at you. Nobody wants you but me. You ain't shit without me.
But I wanted to go through, I noticed something about two specific drafts within a couple of years. The 2019 NBA draft and the 2021 NBA draft, where there is a handful of players that have been in a good amount of controversy. And this is to the point of why I'm saying the NBA may want to start taking a deeper analysis of their players. So you see here, this 2019 draft, I thought it would have more all-stars than it does. But if you look in this draft, right, this is probably going to be one of the more infamous drafts of all time. But I made a video about Zion Williamson. You know that situation. He got this chick pregnant, but he was smashing on this big P-star.
She's a porn star
Named Mariah Mills for a while, and he had himself a harem of big booty babes, right? And then you have Ja Wick, as he's known on the internet, but I'm gonna be respectful, and Ja Morant, and you know, he was just constantly posting videos with him just waving guns in his videos just for no reason. That's also on trend. I'm noticing with some of these guys, a lot of these guys like guns so much, and it's like you don't really need to have them. You know, RJ Barrett, he got off the hook, I think, and it's crazy because he got off the hook when I think Zion Williamson's situation wasn't as bad as his, because, well, if Zion, things go right with this girl, hopefully, at least Zion's got a woman. RJ Barrett was tricking off on an OnlyFans girl, sending her bands, like 10-something bands and stuff.
Woo!
And I was disgusted because it's like, you were 6'9" in massive shape, technically foreign, a Canadian. You can play that to your advantage. And you live in New York and you're sending 10K to OnlyFans girls. For $10,000, you can literally you can be dating two girls, bro, at the same time from the same company. What are you thinking? You know, horrible. And again, that scares me, because if he's willing to do that, if he's trying to find a girl to get married, good luck, man, because he might as well share his girl with Zion Williamson. Jared Culver is a bust. Jackson Hayes also got into a predicament where there was domestic situation with his girlfriend. I guess he might have been beating up on his girlfriend. When the police came to get him, he was resisting arrest, and he got a little spat over it. Now, it wasn't that big, and no one talked about it really that much. But again, we have another player who has been involved in a domestic dispute, and that's why I notice a lot of these players, it seems they're either losing their mind. It's like basically they're having mental problems, they're beating up on their girlfriends, or they're getting caught with guns. You know, so he basically beat his girlfriend a little bit or something, who knows. But you know, he got off and he's on the Lakers now. He's doing pretty well, but that's going to be a stain on his career. And then right next to him, Rui Hachimura, he didn't actually do anything, but there was a span for a couple seasons ago, right before him getting traded to the Lakers, where he was going through a mental hardship, right? That was so extreme that he wasn't even playing. Like, he was just off the roster. He had to just stop playing. And to this day, I don't think it's been publicized yet, but I also involve him when it comes to this subject for the NBA, because this dude also has potential to, I don't think he has all-star potential, but he is a good player to have on your bench. He's got high energy, he's a big body, and you know, he's just a worker. He's got that Japanese work ethic in him. But for a guy like him, you know, to have to take time off, and still people don't know about it, you know, you never know how serious it could be. And then as we keep going along, we have PJ Washington. And again, you know, if you don't know who PJ Washington is, he is the man that finally gave Brittany Renner seed of life, the seed of life, fortunately for all of us. But it's not like he did anything crazy too, but if you think about it, out of all the women he could have got pregnant, he ended up getting Brittany Renner pregnant. They publicized the heck out of it. We're all crazy, and then they broke up. But Brittany got what she wanted. She was recorded on video basically saying, you want to get an easy lick, knock up an athlete.
What?
And now her profile has been raised tremendously, and he's basically going to be a role player, bench player for the rest of his career. You know, again, afterwards, I think he picked up some other chick, and she made some Instagram post with like a Jeep truck he bought her or something, because he got her pregnant, and she seems like she's even worse than Brittany, because at least Brittany got some kind of a personality at the very least. This girl just seems like any run of the mill, and it's like, of course you would just pick the sexiest thing to get on her knees for you instead of being with someone who is an improvement from the last person you were with. If anything, he downgraded, because this new girl is just a new girl. Brittany at least has some money and some celebrity status. There's something there. Now, as we keep going, also the Magic need to trade Chuma Okeke, because I don't see him doing anything. And we finally finished this draft off with the infamous Kevin Porter Jr. And I made a video on him. Basically, he beat up his girlfriend after they had a dispute, and she locked him out of their room in their hotel room in New York, and he legitimately beat her up, and now he's on the ropes right now. And that's what the NBA has really got to think about this. You have two extremely young stars who within the span of like the same span of 2 months are going to court and going to jail over domestic violence. And these two guys are supposed to be, like, especially Kevin Porter Jr., he was actually supposed to be a lottery pick, but because of his attitude issues at USC, he got drafted low by Cleveland, and then he got traded by Cleveland, right? So the NBA just really does not understand. I mean, they understand how bad the optics are, but do they really understand? You never know, because these corporations are kind of wild. I mean, they did decide to have the in-season tournaments. I'm not so sure if they really understand the kind of issue that they've got bubbling. And now let's go on to the 2021 draft, because the 2020 draft was I didn't really notice anything, how would I say, controversial about this draft. It was a pretty decent draft. Nothing crazy happened. Now, the 2021 draft, deeper down the draft, isn't that bad, but we have a handful of players who are in a particularly controversial zone. We'll start off with James Bouknight. Basically, what happened to James Bouknight is he got arrested. I think it was DUI or DWI, but he also had a gun in his lap. Had a mugshot, everything like that. And that was that. He's been on good behavior since. But you gotta really think about it. Like, dude, why are you driving drunk? You're rich. I do not understand the logic of extremely rich ball players driving themselves sometimes. Like, bro, you can get an Uber at any time of the night, whenever you want. You could Uber X like you getting a cheeseburger. Why are you driving drunk? And then having the gun. Why do you need a gun? You're nowhere near the hood. You're nowhere near no enemies. You don't need it, okay? And it's crazy how he got drafted right next to the infamous Josh Primo. Now, if you don't know who Joshua Primo is basically one of the youngest players in the NBA lexicon, and one of the youngest players drafted. He was the youngest player drafted in his draft. So, you know, there's a high ceiling for him just off his age alone. He got reported for flashing himself, I think at multiple, I can't remember if it was one employee or multiple, it was multiple employees. He has this thing where he just flashes women.
I became his accomplice, his accessory to flashing.
And that is a very specific thing to do mentally. It's one thing to try to talk to women and trying to get sex and just being a sleazeball. To flash yourself, again, there's something not right with that boy mentally. And I'm 100% sure the NBA just does not have the wherewithal to actually help this man get the help that he needs. I think he's still on the team for now on some kind of weird contract. I don't know what's going on with that situation, but still, you know, you got Bouknight and then you got Primo, both guys who are just not in their right minds. And then in this very same draft is Kai Jones, right? Okay, So now that I've kind of shown you the drafts that have got me concerned, this is a handful of players who have been oh, and you know, actually, I'm not done yet, because there's one more guy I would like to speak on when it comes to this 2023 draft. And it's not who you think it is. It's actually, I'm going, oh, did he get drafted? I thought he got drafted. Where is he? Where is Imani Bates? There we go, number 49, Imani Bates. So Imani Bates actually recently had been caught with a gun in his car by the police, and you know, he did a little jail stint, and then he, you know, got himself off.
What?
And it's just crazy because, again, why do you need a gun? I understand Michigan can be rough in some areas, but I mean, the fact he was lucky enough to still get drafted. The way his career was going from Memphis to EMU, and EMU being such a bad team, even with him and Noah Farrakhan there, you know, it's like they should have been going off, you know. And to me, he didn't really prove he should have got drafted. Cleveland isn't that bad of a team to be on, but Cleveland at the same time, just, you know, he needs to be on a middle of the way team. The worst thing he can do is go to a team like Charlotte where they got no hope. But also being on Cleveland, I just don't see them really needing his development. You know what I'm saying? He would have been better off going to a more middle of the pack team like the Chicago Bulls. You know what I'm saying? Who really at this point have to just be looking everywhere, because I don't know, if I was Zach LaVine, I'd get the hell up out of there. Lonzo Ball was supposed to have his career ended by injury, but I guess he's still there now, but he's just not going to be the same kind of player. And Kobe White is all right, but he ain't no franchise player. And he traded away Larry Markkinen, so that seems like a better place for him to be at. But again, even he got caught with guns. And if you don't know, but what's his name, Mikey Williams, who everyone grossly overhyped, who I don't know why everyone thinks he's going to be the star NBA player. He could be a good NBA player, but you know, he's only like 6'2", 6'3", and he can dunk and he can shoot and everything, but it's something about the way he moves. He doesn't give me like the Derrick Rose, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk. Who else can I think about? Like you know, even Ja Morant. He doesn't give me that kind of vibe and movement. He kind of has this like heavy footedness to himself that doesn't really show me good pace and speed. You know, I really don't know how he was going to do in college. He would have probably averaged about 12 points per game, but I think he was going to be more like Imani and be just overhyped. But he actually shot at a car of people, and he ain't finna do the whole 28. He probably gonna get some probation or something just off of the connections he has. But you know, he's supposed to be in the NBA regardless. Someone was probably going to draft him. So as you can see right now, the NBA and the basketball world, and I just saw something about some dude from Texas having a grape charge too against him and everything. The NBA has an issue, a buddying issue with the mentality of their players, and with social media. And I'm not blaming social media on this exactly, but from what I can tell though, in the social media era, their players have an easier time getting exposed, which means the NBA actually has less time to handle things behind closed doors or get a handle on things when they happen firstly before anyone can, and this is going to negatively affect their optics. For me, I understand what the real game is though, because you thought I was going to talk about all this stuff happening and not tell you what the real is. The real thing is that this is still a part of the plan. And what I mean by that, because the industry, which I describe as the entertainment industry and the government and everything, the prison industrial complex must go on regardless of how much money any of these black men earn. You know, they still need to go to jail. They still need to become more product, and actually they want to put them to work in jail and everything like that. You know, all these guys though that I listed, besides I'd say Zion and Ja, actually no, every single one of them is replaceable. It doesn't matter how good they are. There will always be another superstar ready to come in. I mean, Zion is great, but then Victor Wembanyama got drafted, Paolo Banchero got drafted. There's still going to be number 1 picks that do good, number 2 picks that do good, number 3, 4, 5, 6 Doesn't matter. They're all replaceable. And the NBA, I say that they should, address this problem and do something about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did not, because then these guys are essentially energy sacrificers, because all the NBA really cares is getting as much as they can monetarily out of their product. Doesn't matter if it's 1 year or 15 years. They want you to go out, make a couple billion for the league, and if that's all you got, that's just all you got. And you got anybody, if anybody is a real NBA fan, I'm not a fanatic, but if anybody knows NBA basketball, think about guys like Penny Hardaway, guys like Brandon Roy, Tracy McGrady. Some of these guys had long careers, some of these guys had short careers, but one thing we all remember is that these dudes were the men. They were those dudes. They were hardcore ballers. But then once they had their injuries and once things just started going downhill, that's what happened. Other guys came in to fill their spots. Brandon Roy, he was great, went down eventually, and they tried to have Greg Oden, but eventually you have a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge. Eventually you gotta have the guy like Damian Lillard. Down in Orlando, Tracy McGrady, got his injuries. I think he got his injuries though in Houston, but still, Dwight Howard comes for Houston. Dwight Howard comes in Orlando. Guys like Rashard Lewis, Hedo Turkoglu, they have more success after Trace McGrady. So again, no matter how good you are, even if you are MVP level, you can be replaceable. The only guys that really can't be easily replaced are the top guys like Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, and stuff, because for what they stand for the league, those are the high performance, highly Masonic characters that are used for propaganda purposes. So they're in a special league in their own because they can actually drive cultures of people and they're used for mind control. But anyways, let me end it off like this, right? All the men out there, we have to make sure we are in control of our minds and ourselves. And I know some of you guys don't like religion. I don't like religion either, and I don't belong to a religion, but I do believe in a creator. I don't think it makes sense for humans to be creative and to create all these things we do and for there not to be a creator, because essentially that is who we are and what we do, and we're essentially in charge of this planet for a reason, and I think that's not a coincidence. I believe in Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham, and when you don't have a belief in the Most High, you end up living a lifestyle for man. You end up doing what thou wilt, all right? Which is what these Masonic puppeteer programs like the National Basketball Association are for. Because think about it, just think about this, right? They act like they have rules, they act like they have standards for their athletes. But when everyone thinks about becoming a professional athlete, the things they think about are not being gentlemen and giving back to the community. All these things that NBA Cares tries to make you think. When people think about becoming athletes, they think about macking on women, getting a lot of women, being able to fly and go wherever you want, all the millions of dollars, all the cars and jewelry and clothes you can buy, everything materialistic. Nobody is trying to be an athlete to go to the Ronald McDonald House. Like, dude, I don't even know why they make those teenagers McDonald's All-American game. Okay, I get it. McDonald's, Ronald McDonald's House. Okay, that makes sense. But at the same time, right, damn well, them boys, it's like, bruh, this is depressing. I'm trying to mac on Malika Andrews right now. I don't care if she's 37 and I'm only 16. I gotta do what I gotta do. They don't care about that. Nobody cares about that. When it comes to sports, the whole point of professional high-level sports is to sell products with product, which is the players. And I think the NBA needs to start taking note, because we live in interesting times. People, mental illness is at an all-time high. Legitimate mental illness too. I'm not just talking about people being stressed, but I'm talking about people with certain tics and nerves in their brain that have them off. And then some of these guys also are of the serpent seed, of which they have a negative spirit or off rip. It's just in them naturally. Like Josh Primo, I think he's serpent seed. because this dude just unfetteredly exposes himself at people. And Kai Jones, I think he kind of has it too, because that boy is actually legit crazy. Anyways, we got to make sure that we control our minds. We got to control ourselves around women. We got to control ourselves around men. We have to, you know, even when we're down and out, or when we're on top, we have to try to control our finances. We have to control our not crafts. That's witchcraft. We have to control our talents too, the things that we do, whether you do music or you're able to be a good carpenter or you're a firefighter. You have to also make sure you're in control of the things that you are naturally good at, or the things that you can naturally tolerate for work. You know, everything really comes down to creation and control as Yahweh has made things, right? Because we're extensions of who he is. And these guys have lost that extension. Therefore, they're lost. It doesn't matter how much money they have. It doesn't matter how much success they've accumulated getting to the league, to the NBA. None of that matters, because now some of these guys are going to jail. And some of these guys are getting criminal records after just being clean. Some of these guys are getting cut and waived from their teams. And some of these guys are going to lose their NBA careers. Quite frankly, I know we all got to get money. I know we all want to accomplish our quote-unquote dreams, but sometimes I really do think that a professional career in sports is sometimes the worst thing for somebody, because then it gives them an excuse not to grow up, gives them an excuse not to be in the real world. And when all they do is just play, they don't really learn any lessons that's not really basketball. You know, it's like I said, it's all like they're just a product selling products. Think about the vast amount of advertisement you see advertisement on the floor. I hate the fact now that there are advertisement on the logo. Sometimes the logos on the jerseys do look nice, but I hate the fact it's just I don't know, man. It's just greedy, you know. It's kind of weird. You know, you already got logos everywhere, and now they're gonna have logos on the backpack and logos on the short. Eventually, the logos are going on the shorts. It's not gonna stop at just the corner. They're trying to keep their NBA prestige by just having it like on one side, but they already got the Nike check up on there too. So more logos are coming. Just look at the G League. If anything, the G League should have logos. I don't know why NBA teams have logos when almost every NBA team is worth $1 billion at this point. That's kind of the reason why I don't like 90% of most football, soccer jerseys, because some of them things like the Paramount Plus TV one on Inter Milan, you know, it just look off. Sometimes that's another story for another day. But anyways, I gotta pray for these boys, and I pray for you guys too. We really gotta learn lessons from these dudes, because a lot of times we grow up just wanting to be athletes and entertainers and rappers and stuff simply for the vices, but we never understand that in that world, when you're a product and the only thing you're supposed to do is work on things, play things you love in order to make money for another person, you inevitably do become a slave, regardless of how much money they give to you. Because being a slave is not about working for free. Being a slave is having your sovereignty. Being a slave is about having the freedom of your work and your labor and your play, for these guys, being restricted by another party that controls you in that aspect. So you can be $1 billion slave. You know, slave is not mutually exclusive to just doing work for free. And I don't want any of us to be like that, even though it seems like we may be in this world. You got to keep the faith, you know. You got to keep Yahweh Shai in your good graces. You have to return to Yahweh. You know, you have to just give your thanks to him. And you have to be focused and obsessed with prayer and communication with Yahweh, because ultimately when we're done in this life, we leave the world of man. The world of man really just revolves around purchasing stuff. It revolves around debt. It revolves around advertisement. It revolves around greed. Just look at this world. All the positive things that have been created and done in this world is always outshined by the negative, and that's how man works. So I just can't believe in this world of man. And when I see how these young players are doing in the NBA, I just can't believe in that either. You know, if they had, at the very least, if they had the discernment and they were preoccupied in their minds about the fear or the wrath of Yahweh Shai when he comes back and Yahweh, they would think to themselves, I can't be acting like this. You know, Miles Bridges will be thinking, I want to keep my family together. I don't want my kids to be afraid of me. But now his kids, good God, probably more afraid of him than a little kid seeing Sully for the first time. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I may be speaking too long anyways. Hope you guys have a great time, and this is my quick pick for the night.